Chapter 1031, Attacked by Brainless Fans. Lin Che, of course, could understand their strange looks. They probably wondered how a man could look so handsome and why there was such an uncouth woman next to him. She did not get tired of looking at him after so many years. Sometimes, when she took a glance back, her breath would still be taken away, so it was not surprising for those who had just seen him for the first time. Although the star on the stage was very charismatic, he did not have his aura. Some people were already guessing if Gu Jingze was some celebrity that came here to support the artist. Lin Che could somehow hear someone ask, "Is it some celebrity? Why didn't I see him before?" Right, I cannot remember. Maybe he looks different on television, but if he is so handsome, I shouldn't have forgotten about it. Lin Che immediately felt like coming out with him was dangerous. She looked around. Everyone's judging gaze became weirder by the moment, so she became obedient and stopped talking. She did not dare to tease Gu Jingze in the next few songs. Afterward, the concert ended with a sense of jubilation everywhere. Lin Che left with Gu Jingze. They followed the crowd, watching how the people were still loudly and excitedly discussing the concert. It was Lin Che's first time watching a concert, so she was also very pumped. She danced around and said, "No wonder he was still considered a legendary singer even after so many years. He is so handsome." Gu Jingze was immediately unhappy. He looked at her with a gloomy face. Lin Che thought that this man was too stingy. But to be tactful, she reluctantly tapped his elbows. "Of course, not as handsome as you. He's not as handsome as you, okay." Gu Jingze scoffed. So many people enjoy songs like these. No wonder people's hearts are becoming more flighty. Gu Jingze was already defiant, so upon seeing how Lin Che was so immersed in talking about this man, his heart could not take it, so he said that he did not have any thoughts about this type of song and did not enjoy or dislike listening to them. However, he did not say that in front of Lin Che. But he did not think about how there were fans everywhere. This sentence was heard by a fan at the side. The fan immediately looked over upon hearing that. After seeing two people talking about it, she shouted and walked over. "Hey, the one at the front. What did you just say?" Gu Jingze never bothered to listen to an irrelevant person, so he did not hear this sentence. But Lin Che heard it. She turned back and saw the girl behind, her hands at her waist. Together with some fans at her side, she angrily glared at Lin Che and Gu Jingze. "What happened?" her friends at the side asked. The girl pointed in Gu Jingze's direction and said, "The man in front said, even these kinds of songs could be liked by people." "What do you mean by these kinds of songs? What are you trying to say?" Some other fans heard it and also angrily looked over. Because there were a lot of people and they were very excited just now, they still had a lot of adrenaline and was very rash. "Ha, this sort of song. Can you even understand this kind of song? Right, if you don't like it, why are you here? Right, aren't you shameless? If you don't like it, why spend money to listen to it? Why did you rant about it after? This person is really so tasteless and still dared to say his song is bad. You can see he has so many fans, which means that his songs are so popular. We are asking you a question if you dare to speak again." The few fans began to attack the two of them. Lin Che was still holding on to Gu Jingze's arms and wanted to drag him away. These fans should not be offended. After being in the entertainment industry for so long, she knew how scary it was when fans became unreasonable. But Gu Jingze already turned back. He squinted his eyes, silently pursing his lips. He looked down at those people with a superior pose and prideful gaze. Because he was too tall, he looked downwards at everyone, so it seemed like he was out of this world. But the few fans froze for a while. They did not expect such a charismatic man when he turned around. Their gaze fixed onto his face, in awe of his perfect looks. But then, they were ashamed to be staring at a person they were reprimanding. The girl in front yelled first, "Hey, what's with your attitude? We were talking at you. Couldn't you hear us?" With one reacting, the others also quickly came around. As they were embarrassed, they released it onto Gu Jingze. "Now, you must apologize. How could you say that to his songs? Is it right to anyhow criticize someone? You don't even understand him." "Right, How can you say that after listening to his songs a few times? Apologize. Lin Che thought, she met a brainless fan this time. Gu Jingze was not familiar with this situation, so Lin Che immediately said, "All right, we were just casually talking and joking. You don't have to take it seriously." The girl looked at Lin Che and yelled, "How can you talk about someone behind his back casually? You have no morals." Right, they don't even have manners. How did their family bring them up? They look quite old and still don't know how to be cultured. Their words were getting worse. Lin Che's face closed up. She loved the singer, but she was very rational about the so-called love, unlike these brainless little girls. What did they mean by no manners? Never mind, I have nothing to say to you. Lin Che pulled Gu Jingze to leave. The few girls did not let go of this matter. They chased after them and yelled, "Why? Running away because you can't argue with us? You haven't apologized. Don't come to our TZ's concert ever again. You people only insult TZ by listening." Yes, because you people who don't like TZ and still occupy space, tickets are so hard to come by. Our TZ does not need people like you to come and listen to his concert. We don't need you to buy tickets. Why didn't you let those who truly understand our TZ have the tickets? Lin Che could not tolerate it. At the side, Gu Jingze also got frustrated after listening to them. He looked back at the few people. "I don't want to listen, but listen up, one more sentence from you." Alright, there's nothing to say to them. Let's just go our own way. Lin Che knew that things would only get worse from talking to them. They just wanted you to bow and apologize. They did not dare about logic or common sense. Although they wanted to protect their idol, they were forcing too much on others. She wanted to let Gu Jingze shut up, but instead, Gu Jingze's words became more piercing. "Of course, I don't have the time to ask you not to like anyone, so you also don't have to ask me to like anyone. Because I may not like the same things as you do. For example, if you like eating shit and force others to eat shit, isn't that asking a bit too much?" Chapter 1032. So what if you're a second-generation tycoon? We'll kill you. Even Lin Che was suddenly speechless. This Gu Jingze, he should not be fanning the flames right now. He truly did not know how terrifying crazy fans could be, especially when they were fans gathered together after an exciting concert like this one had just ended. They were young, had hot tempers, and were completely fearless. Just then, they immediately got angry. They looked at Gu Jingze and seriously looked like they were going to devour him. "You, how dare you actually say that? You're way too ridiculous, insulting someone like that. Who do you think you are? All you have is a good-looking face." "Precisely. Who is this ugly person with you? One look and we can tell that you're a gigolo provided for by someone else. How dare a mere gigolo like you criticize our TZ?" They were even about to rush forth immediately and seemed extremely agitated. The intense argument also instantly gathered attention from the people around them. Gu Jingze continued standing there unmoving. Seeing that he did not even retort, the girls became even angrier and someone even came up to him without hesitation, wanting to hit him. The people behind her frantically pulled her back. "Don't stoop to the same level as a gigolo like him. Don't fight. It wouldn't be good for our TZ either if this becomes news." Gu Jingze scoffed and said, "Little girls, you should go home and study diligently. When you grow up, you'll know how embarrassing it was that you did something like this today. You'll be the death of me. No one should stop me today." She was so angry that she immediately rushed towards him. However, she did not expect guards from the Gu family to appear before she even reached him. They immediately stopped her. Subsequently, before she could even react, those who were around arrived one after another. In a short time, numerous burly chaps had formed a barrier here, frightening all of the little girls. As a result, more spectators gathered around them. The noise of the people behind turned louder and louder, along with the increasing attention. "Who is this person? He's so handsome. He even brought his bodyguards with him. Is he a rich person? He looks like a second-generation rich kid. His clothes seem very expensive. He has bodyguards. Could he be some local tycoon?" Upon hearing that he was a local tycoon, the young girls took another look at these bodyguards. They felt a little unconfident too. However, their enthusiasm was at its peak right now. There were so many people watching from behind them too. But it did also make them feel less afraid all of a sudden. The girl in front shouted without hesitation, "So what if you're a local tycoon? So what if you're a second-generation rich kid? Even if you have money, it's money belonging to your parents. How can you compare to RTZ? He started earning money on his own from young and advanced his career on his own." Exactly. RTZ relied on his own abilities. Your fingertip can't even compare to his. How dare you criticize him like this? Learn from our TZ. He's so talented, but he isn't as arrogant as you either. Look at you. Who do you think you are? A good-for-nothing who idles about. You can't do anything else apart from courting women. Lin Che looked at them. Don't you think you're going overboard? When they noticed Lin Che, they were even more direct in attacking her, saying, "Ha! Your taste is so rotten. Luckily, you don't like our TZ. Even for a prostitute, you're so ugly. It would be a tragedy if you liked our TZ." Gu Jingze's eyes turned stern. It was all right for people to criticize him. He would not hold it against people, especially insensible young girls like them. But he could not listen to anyone insult Lin Che. With a look from Gu Jingze, the bodyguard at the front immediately slapped the girl who had spoken. This time, she was really stunned by the slap. It was a long time before the girl whose face was hurting from having been hit shouted in alarm and rushed directly at the guard who had hit her. "I'll fight you to the death." Unfortunately, before she had even reached him, the guard immediately tripped her, causing her to fall onto the ground. The girl cried and shouted while lying on the ground. "You even hit women. You guys are way too terrible." The girls who had come with her were also shocked. Some people were calling the police while others were making a fuss about wanting to call 911. Everyone started shouting one by one. "They hit someone. They hit someone over here. Quick, take a video so we can see what exactly this scum who hit a woman looks like." Someone was about to lift her phone and take a video, but one of the guards immediately snatched it from her. After snatching it from her, he ignored her protests and smashed the phone directly onto the ground. Seeing this, all of the people behind her did not dare to do the same, to avoid their own phones suffering at the hands of such evil. However, a few fans started shouting even more loudly. Someone said directly, "I'm going to contact the fan club. We want to destroy this man's reputation right here." Precisely. Let all of the fans see who exactly this person is. This person who insulted our TZ on such a pleasant day. In the future, we'll hit him every time we see him. Now, things were getting out of hand. Lin Che wanted to pull Gu Jingze away, but someone over there had already called the police. The police actually came immediately. But even if these children were insensible, how could the police officers possibly be insensible? When they saw the Gu family crest, they immediately gathered around them. Although they did not know who from the Gu family he was, they still didn't dare to offend Jingze at all. "Sir, there are many people here. Let's go over there first and deal with this," a police officer said respectfully in a low voice. Gu Jingze nodded his head. "Let's go." With one arm wound around Lin Che, he immediately brought her along as he left with the police officer. Upon seeing this, the rest of them felt that there was something off with the expressions of these police officers. Why did they not drag him off by force, but instead treat him with such respect? How could they treat an offender this way? They had obviously invited him out and not arrested him. Subsequently, they carried the girl who had collapsed onto the floor into the ambulance while saying, "About that man. He can't be that rich, right?" All the police officers seemed to treat him very well. Seriously, so what if he has money? So many people saw him hit someone. That's right, we'll inform the fan club. If TZ finds out about this, he will help us too. When the time comes, we'll make him pay the price. After saying this, sure enough, they started contacting the fan club to help out with this matter. Upon hearing that someone who had attended the concert had been hit, the fan club also joined in enthusiastically. They thought that it was newsworthy and that it was a pretty good idea to increase the amount of attention to their idol's concert. As a result, once the concert ended that day, they went online to post about some second-generation tycoon who insulted TZ after attending the concert, saying that what he sang was shit. How could he do that? Who did he think he was, insulting their idol at the venue of the concert? Furthermore, he subsequently even started hitting someone to the point where she had to go to the hospital. They tagged TZ on Weibo, causing the matter to blow up within a short time. As TZ was one of the top singers, to begin with, he was definitely first in terms of the number of brainless fans he had. Thus, anything that was remotely related to him would definitely blow up into a huge matter. Chapter 1033. You dare offend just anyone. People immediately started making a big deal out of the incident. The fans even said repeatedly, who did that second-generation tycoon think he was, going over there to start a fight? He was literally treating himself as a god. Their TZ was more outstanding than some second-generation tycoon. Did second-generation tycoons have as many fans as TZ? As fans, they had to protect their own idol. They could not allow people to insult their idol like that just because they had money. Of course, TZ's team also noticed this incident immediately. They hastily contacted the fan club to find out what exactly had happened. Meanwhile, Lin Che simply knew that the situation would not turn out well. As she watched the news and read their insulting words, she thought to herself in disbelief that these people were so good at kicking up a fuss. At the time, they had just made passing remarks. Furthermore, she and Gu Jingze had simply been having a casual conversation, but they had eavesdropped and escalated the matter to this extent. According to the rumors, that girl was still under hospitalization. But she had merely been pushed to the ground and was now staying in the hospital and refusing to leave. After coming into the room, Gu Jingze saw that Lin Che was still watching the news. He walked towards her and glanced at the screen only to see foul words filling the entire screen. Someone even said that she was going to dig out his personal details. Gu Jingze said, "Ha! These people are cursing us out like this even though they did not see exactly what happened." Lin Che bit her finger. Well, I think people don't usually read the content of the news articles when they curse at others. They start cursing as soon as they look at the title. Lin Che said, well, they go online just to vent their anger. I don't care who you are. I just want to curse at you. Gu Jingze took the tablet computer from her. He scoffed as he looked at what was being shown and let out a low disgruntled sound. He looked at the name on the screen and asked, his name is TZ, right? I think his days of being surrounded by crowds and being called the king are about to end. Oh no way, Lin Che hastily said, don't be like that. He was my idol when I was young. Gu Jingze's face was pulled taut. He did not listen to her pleas. Lin Che quickly stood up and said, I mean it. Even though we don't know each other, at the very least, he was my idol. I liked him a lot when I was younger. Hearing this, Gu Jingze scoffed. No wonder your intelligence quotient turned out this way. It seems like you looked up to the wrong person as your role model when you were young. I must shut him out of the industry. No, she knew that she had said the wrong thing. She frantically tugged at him and said, no matter what, he's not as handsome as you. He's just good at singing. I felt that he was really very talented before I met you. After all, I didn't have anyone to compare him to at the time. Now that I've met you, there's no way I would still think that anyone else is talented. It's only because I was young at the time. I attended the concert this time only to relive my youth when I had no taste in the past. After hearing her blurt out so many words, Gu Jingze finally made a hump sound and then calmly picked up the tablet computer and placed it standing on the table. He should be grateful that he still has a fan like you to put in good words for him despite having so many brainless fans. He continued, forget it. But I will definitely teach him a lesson. How petty of him. But Lin Che was also aware that he was already very respectful. If it were someone else, there would be no space for negotiation at all. It was also because it was ultimately those fans and not TZ himself who had offended him this time. She only hoped that TZ would not suddenly make an appearance and spout some nonsense. If that happened, then definitely no one would be able to save him. Given Gu Jingze's temper, if it were someone else, it was only a matter of minutes before he chased him out of C Nation. Meanwhile, members of TZ's team immediately started finding out more details. Members of the fan club briefly explained the situation at the time. They said that the police had arrived on the scene but had unexpectedly not taken him away. They even escorted him out respectfully. The members of TZ's team were surprised to hear that he had been escorted out directly. Furthermore, he had been escorted out directly the moment the police arrived. Ultimately, they were not insensible children. They knew that in reality, there were not many people like him in B City who did not fear the police. Although some people were very wealthy as well, B City was different from other places. Because there were too many wealthy people typically did not dare to keep a high profile. But judging from the fact that the police officers immediately turned respectful after heading there, he was probably not a person of low status. The members of TZ's team quickly sought information from the police to find out who exactly that person was. When they obtained the information, they were nearly frightened to death. The police told them that the person who had gone there was probably a member of the Gu family. TZ's team nearly pissed themselves. They could not believe that they had offended the Gu family. Offending the Gu family out of all the people they could offend. Did they have a death wish? The members of TZ's team proceeded to seek information on who exactly from the Gu family this person was. By right, this would not have been easy to find out. But instantaneously, they were notified that TZ's subsequent concert had been rescheduled just because of the issue of public nuisance. The tickets had been completely sold out. Now that the timing had suddenly been changed, people would definitely complain. They started to get anxious. However, they felt that there had to be a reason for something like this to happen at this juncture. It was no coincidence. Immediately, the members of TZ's team followed this line of inquiry. The local performance council told them directly, "You guys offended a prominent figure. We know that we offended someone. But we're trying to find out who exactly we offended because we don't know." "You offended Gu Jingze." Puff. They nearly spurted out blood. Was he the person at the venue that day? We heard that he had taken his wife to watch the concert. It seems that his wife is TZ's fan. After that, he was attacked by fans. Right now, this is simply a warning. You should know that when it comes to Gu Jingze, the fact that you guys are still alive right now and can make inquiries already goes to show that he's not genuinely angry. That's right, they said while trembling. Indeed, they felt a surge of fear after the fact. They felt that they had to count their blessings at the fact that they were still alive now. In that case, what should we do now? What else can you do? Quickly look for a chance to make amends. Can we meet Gu Jingze? A person like him isn't just an ordinary wealthy person. We can't meet him just because we want to. These fans are too much too. This won't do. We definitely can't let them continue making a fuss. They've already created so much trouble. The members of TZ's team immediately started dealing with the matter. They quickly got TZ to upload a notice on his Weibo page first, telling the fans not to take things too far. He said, "All criticisms are a show of attention towards me. I'm glad that I'm able to receive attention. Those troublemaking fans are not fans of me, TZ. My fans have manners, are responsible, and have sensible opinions. They are rational when they like me and support me, and do not smear the name of the TZ family. I hope that all my fans can discuss the matter only after understanding the entire situation. I feel apologetic towards that gentleman whose reputation was tarnished. I hope that you can forgive me." His fans were a little taken aback after the post. When they took another look at the entire sequence of events, everyone felt that it was those fans who had gone slightly overboard. Furthermore, the other party had not said anything about them. They had gone a bit too far in making such a big fuss and cursing at him for such a long time. Chapter 1034. That's what you call true deterrence. They immediately stopped making a fuss after TZ had uploaded his post. They even started to criticize the fans who had started a fight in the concert venue. They expressed bluntly that those fans were definitely different from the rational ones who liked TZ and supported him. Those fans were brainless and not necessarily true fans. You should have civic consciousness if you like TZ. Obey the rules, and behave magnanimously and adequately. Work hard to protect TZ's image, as opposed to creating trouble at the concert and scolding others who did not like TZ. Members of TZ's team immediately got wind of news that Gu Jingze was going to be a guest at Blackhawk's clubhouse very soon. Thus, they quickly rushed over there too. Of course, TZ himself had personally come here. After going in, his manager also cautiously reminded him from beside him, "This time, I reckon it's Mr. Gu who gave us this chance. Otherwise, how could we have possibly found out the schedule of a prominent figure like him? You must treasure the opportunity later and not say the wrong thing." "I know, I definitely won't talk nonsense. I'm just begging for mercy anyway." Naturally, TZ could not have stayed popular for so many years if he only knew how to sing. At the same time, he also had to know how to conduct himself. Thus, he knew such things from the start. They did not even offend typical wealthy tycoons because they did not know which one would become their next investor, their next opportunity. Much less the Gu family who had power over the entire Sea nation. At times, those ignorant fans would really cause them a lot of trouble instead. They had thought that they were protecting their idol, but in actual fact, they had caused him harm. In the end, they even needed their idol to clean up their terrible mess. They even had to strenuously turn the situation around and make a visit to beg for mercy. TZ felt very helpless too. But he felt that it was also a stroke of luck for him to be able to meet this powerful and important Mr. Gu through this opportunity. His manager proceeded to say, "I heard that Gu Jingze brought his wife to your concert that day because his wife likes you." "Really? That's all right then. I will mention his wife later. Perhaps it will be slightly easier to deal with him on account of his wife." While saying this, he had already gone in. The moment he saw those rigid-faced bodyguards of Gu Jingze standing outside, he instinctively felt deep veneration. Looking at this extraordinary formation, he subconsciously felt a little stifled. TZ continued to scold those brainless fans in secret for being such troublemakers. At the same time, he felt fortunate that Madame Gu was also his fan. Otherwise, he was truly going to die this time. "We're here to visit Mr. Gu. Can you notify him that we are here?" His manager continued, "We're TZ. We came here especially to apologize. We hope that Mr. Gu can do us the honor of meeting us so that we can personally beg for his forgiveness with our lives." At the front, Chin Hao watched on and glanced at the manager. Gu Jingze usually would not meet people like them. This time, he did not know why Gu Jingze even wanted to give TZ a way out of the situation on Lin Che's account. As expected, the influence that his wife had on him was infinite. "Sir is inside, but TZ is the only one who's allowed to go in." Yes, all right, TZ, go on in." TZ drew in a deep breath and pinched his hands furtively before gathering the courage to walk in. The moment he went in, he saw that man sitting on a single sofa chair. His legs were crossed and propped up. He looked as if he was leaning backward lazily while swiping something on the tablet computer in his hands. His long and slender fingers were gently tapping the screen, and his gaze was scattered in front. His black suit seemed to bring with it an overwhelming air of oppressiveness. It made others feel as if a chilly atmosphere lingered about him all the time. He turned his head slightly. Only coldness was written faintly on his arrogant face. His unapproachable countenance and his eyes, which were as cold as stars, had a hint of unfriendliness to them. His pitch-black eyes were bottomless and made others feel as if they had fallen into a deep abyss so that they did not dare to meet his gaze. This was a person with an imposing manner. TZ immediately felt as if he was the emperor. He could not help but feel as if he was about to kneel down and speak. Mr. Gu, I'm here to apologize. I'm truly very sorry about this matter. I didn't know that those people actually insulted Mr. Gu like that behind his back. These people don't know who Mr. Gu is. Furthermore, they're young and immature. This is also my fault. I was not a good role model. I don't know how some people without proper manners became my fans. I'm responsible for it, and it's also my fault that I didn't realize what was happening sooner. No matter what, I made a mistake in respect of this matter. I hope that Mr. Gu can punish me. Over the past few days, I've continuously felt uneasy. I hope that I will feel at ease after Mr. Gu punishes me today. Gu Jingze gazed at him. He stared at his face and felt it unlikely that Lin Che would actually like his face. Although it could be looked at, it was, in reality, no good. He found it completely inconceivable that Lin Che could still find this face good-looking after being with him for so many years. TZ did look very handsome on stage. But off stage, he was very ordinary. Alright, he no longer wanted to bother with this matter. Since Lin Che liked his talent, he would respect Lin Che's feelings as well. But he should still scare him a bit. Yes, so. As TZ listened to his voice, which was devoid of any warmth, he felt even more terrified. Well, that's why I came here precisely to be punished. Please, Mr. Gu, don't stand on ceremony. You must punish me. Huh. Instead of saying words, Gu Jingze let out a nonchalant hum. TZ was even more frightened to the point where his body was trembling. Mr. Gu, I'm willing to accept any form of punishment. I mean it. I still feel very guilty even now. I feel so guilty that I have insomnia every night. I really don't know how this issue turned so nasty. Gu Jingze continued to remain silent and merely looked ahead quietly. The longer he continued to do this, the more unconfident TZ felt. He would have to kneel if things really did not work out. But even though Gu Jingze had the manner of an emperor, he did not think he was actually the emperor. After all, they were no longer stuck in the past. In modern society, there was no such thing as an emperor. One's ability spoke for itself. The losers were always in the wrong. Gu Jingze saw TZ's complexion turn more and paler. It seemed that he was genuinely scared. Only then did he say coolly, "All right." As if he had obtained a pardon, TZ hastily lifted his head. Gu Jingze said, "It's good that you know. I'll let the matter be." TZ's legs were really about to go soft all of a sudden. Gu Jingze knew that a person's intentions would only be more difficult to guess as long as he remained silent. People would then become more fearful when they could not guess his intentions. This was the reason he remained silent, so that other people would defeat themselves internally. This was true deterrence. Gu Jingze waved his hand. Enough. Yes, in that case, I won't impose on Mr. Gu. TZ frantically went out. He felt that he was going to piss himself if he stayed there for another second. By the way, just then, the voice behind TZ nearly made him kneel again. Mr. Gu, do you have any other instructions? Well, I want you to come over for a bit after a few days. Huh, what? Gu Jingze raised his head to look at TZ. His gaze was still devoid of warmth. But his expression when he looked at him was much more pleasant than it had been earlier. Chapter 1035. You could call this a surprise for her. No one knew what Gu Jingze had said to him inside. When TZ came out, he seemed to have relaxed a great deal at long last. He pushed his hair away and said, "Hey, it's because I have good luck. Let's go, let's go." His manager asked, "What happened?" "Hey, don't even mention it. Mr. Gu is well deserving of his name as Mr. Gu. He's really out of the common run and is deserving of respect." He quickly put his things in order before leaving this place with the line of people. At home, Lin Che saw that no more comments were attacking them online. After the attacks had died down, Gu Jingze also stopped everyone from reading this piece of news to prevent people from actually digging out personal details of the person who had gone to attend the concert that day. By this time, Gu Jingze had already returned. Seeing that Lin Che was home, he approached her and asked, "How do you feel today?" Lin Che was not in a good mood as her morning sickness was getting more and more serious. On top of that, there were so many troubling things happening online over the past few days. There were always people cursing them out, affecting her immensely as well. She also experienced quite a lot of emotional turbulence. Gu Jingze always came home earlier to accompany her every day. He would chat with her and even cook together with her. They would cook some chicken soup noodles or a simple orekiete. Lin Che would not puke after eating these things. She did not know if it was delicious because she really liked the food or whether she actually only liked eating food cooked by Gu Jingze. Gu Jingze looked handsome when cooking. Furthermore, no one could ever get sick of that serious expression of his when he was cooking. Thus, her mood would take a turn for the better when she watched him cook. When she thought about the fact that Gu Jingze had personally made the food, she felt even happier and ate more as a result. However, Gu Jingze was not planning to cook anything today. He merely pulled Lin Che to her feet and asked, "Why don't we just go out and eat today?" "Sure, what are we eating?" She was worried that she would not be able to stomach anything. "Let's go out first and discuss what to eat later." Gu Jingze pulled her with him to get a change of clothes. As Lin Che did not have to work, she usually did only some basic skincare. She also stopped using other makeup products altogether. When she went out, she would casually put on some simple and loose clothing too. But Lin Che's figure was good, to begin with. Although she was pregnant now, it did not seem to have affected her figure at all. Apart from the fact that her waist was slightly plumper, all the other parts of her body pretty much looked the same. As a result, Lin Che did not appear sloppy at all when she went out in loose clothing. On the contrary, it accentuated her slender figure and smoothed it out, making it look very beautiful instead. The maids could not help but sigh in admiration as they looked at her. Their madam was simply beautiful. A beautiful person was beautiful no matter what she wore. Even if she did not bother about her appearance due to pregnancy, she was still a beauty. But Lin Che herself knew that this was related to the fact that she did not get fat so easily. It also had to do with these clothes. Although they were loose, all of them were the best-selling designs of various big brands. They were expensive for a reason. No matter how she wore them, they would look fashionable and stylish and not as shapeless as ordinary clothing. Lin Che casually got dressed and followed Gu Jingze out. When she saw that they had entered a pretty good restaurant, she thought that Gu Jingze probably wanted to take her out for a breather. Thus, she did not bother about where they were. But she did not expect the restaurant to be empty when she went in. She immediately turned her head. "Ah, Gu Jingze, you reserved the whole restaurant." Gu Jingze tugged at her. "Let's continue talking after we go in." There's no need for such a grand gesture. She wondered if her recent moodiness had affected Gu Jingze greatly, leading him to pay her so much attention all of a sudden and even specially reserve a restaurant for them to have a meal. She felt that it was time for her to properly adjust her emotions to prevent everyone around her from worrying about her. Lin Che sat down and saw that a few desserts had already been served in advance. They had also prepared juices and drinks. She was still wondering why the desserts had been served first instead of the main dishes. But she suddenly heard some sounds from beside her. Lin Che paused. She frowned and looked over only to see a massive stage suddenly move towards them from the empty area in the front of the restaurant. She froze. Music suddenly started playing at this moment. The familiar prelude made Lin Che's eyes widen all of a sudden. After that, she saw TZ appear on the stage. He was sitting behind the piano and playing it with deep emotion. He looked at the microphone in front of him while the music was playing. He smiled faintly and looked downwards before starting to sing. "Your faint smile has a lovely charm to it. You're my medicine, I have no antidote." This love song had had mass public appeal back then. When TZ sang it from such a close distance, his voice seemed even more pleasing to the ears. Lin Che looked on in pleasant surprise and immediately covered her mouth. "Good gracious, TZ." From the side, Gu Jingze's face was about to fall again when he saw that she seemed as if she was about to cry from excitement. But he let it go when he remembered that this was the surprise he had prepared for her. TZ played the piano and sang on stage. He looked at Lin Che off stage as if he was singing for her alone. It really made Lin Che feel as if she had returned to her younger days. At the time, she genuinely felt that she would be completely satisfied if she were able to meet TZ once. What's more, she was listening to TZ sing in front of her right now. She covered her face with her hands and looked at TZ from where she was. Of course, she was very touched because she knew that Gu Jingze had deliberately arranged this. Because she had once said that she really liked TZ in her high school days, the songs that TZ was singing now were all the most popular songs during her high school days. Within a short time, she felt the miracle of time travel. Lin Che knew that Gu Jingze had given a lot of thought to this. How could he be so good? Lin Che turned to look at Gu Jingze. Gu Jingze. Gu Jingze asked, for. Does it sound good? Lin Che immediately pulled his hand to her affectionately and said, not as good as your voice. At least she had learned to be obedient. The corners of Gu Jingze's lips turned upwards in a smile. Lin Che immediately stood up once TZ ended the song. TZ walked off the piano stage after that and came down to bow to them. His gaze paused when he glanced at Gu Jingze and Madame Gu, who were off stage. He suddenly felt that Madame Gu looked very familiar. Lin Che called out, TZ. Wow, is it TZ in the flesh? The moment she opened her mouth to speak, she seemed impossibly familiar. This wasn't this person Lin Che. Of course, TZ knew who Lin Che was. Even if the two of them had never crossed paths, each of them knew who the other was after all. What's more was that Lin Che was the queen of the film industry. He looked at Lin Che in surprise. Could it be, Lin Che was none other than Madame Gu. No way. This piece of information was a little too shocking. If news were to get out, the matter would definitely blow up. Lin, Madame Gu. TZ nearly called out her name, but when he glanced at Gu Jingze beside her, he remembered and quickly changed his words. Lin Che said, "Oh my, TZ. What you call me isn't that important. Why are you calling me Madame Gu? I'm your fan, you can just call me Lin Che." She really was Lin Che. TZ said sheepishly, "I'm ashamed. I'm grateful that Madame Gu likes me and my songs." Chapter 1036, A Song for Her. Lin Che said, "Of course. Who can dislike Master TZ's songs?" TZ's face turned red at her compliment. He knew who Lin Che was too. She was not a stranger to the industry but was in the industry. She was even one of the empresses of the film industry. The feeling of having an empress like him so much was different from having fans like him. "I'm so ashamed, so ashamed." TZ genuinely felt embarrassed that someone at the level of an empress enjoyed his performances. After all, those in the industry were all aware of some of the unwritten rules of the industry too. He knew that although he had great fame, he was not necessarily that formidable in reality. He hastily said, "Madam, I'm truly so grateful that you like me. I've liked TZ a lot since my high school days. I didn't think that I would be able to meet you one day. That's why I'm so excited. I even went to attend your concert a few days ago. But I disguised myself slightly and did not appear as myself." TZ felt even more guilty that he brought up this incident. "If I had known earlier that you were going to attend, I definitely would have invited you on stage to have some fun." "Dear me, how's that possible?" Lin Che said hastily. TZ asked, "Why would it be impossible? So many singers earnestly wish to be able to meet a famous celebrity like Madame. A top celebrity's attendance at his own concert would be such a hot topic. Furthermore, his fans would feel great watching it and find it very refreshing too. It would boost his reputation immensely if outsiders saw who his guests were. Especially someone as famous as Lin Che." Lin Che said, "I attended the concert of my own accord. I didn't tell anyone either. I will definitely invite Madame to my concert if there's a chance in the future." "Ha ha ha, I'll thank you in advance for giving me this honor. But for the time being, I probably won't have this chance." She subconsciously touched her stomach. TZ was tactful and did not ask further, either. Gu Jingze continued standing there watching. Seeing that Lin Che was so happy, Gu Jingze felt a complicated mix of emotions. Lin Che said, "Oh, by the way, don't tell others that you met me here today." TZ immediately agreed and promised, "Yes. I know." This was such a huge piece of gossip. It was seriously vexing that he could not talk about it. But he would be courting death if he spread the news. Who would dare to oppose Gu Jingze? Those who offended the Gu family simply had a death wish. This time, luck was truly on his side. He had managed to save himself this time because Lin Che liked his songs. TZ said, "All right. Madame Gu, next up is a song that I'm giving, especially to the two of you. It's a new song I wrote." "Huh, there's even a song for me?" Lin Che was even more surprised. TZ merely smiled. After returning home, he thought up ways and means to make Madame Gu happy this time, so of course, he finished writing the song throughout the night. After sitting down, Lin Che saw TZ go back on stage. He picked up the microphone and looked at Lin Che and Gu Jingze in the audience. The music started playing. It was TZ's typical introduction. People could tell with one listen that this was TZ's song. But this song had indeed never been heard before. TZ had just written it. "My longing voice lingers in your ears. Our love is more resilient than gold, I'm starting to hear." It was an old school love song. When Lin Che heard it, she truly felt as if she had returned to her high school days and was reliving how she had felt towards TZ. TZ had written the song so well. Of course, she did not know that TZ had not written a proper song in years. His enthusiasm had died down because he was in a sufficiently high position and was not lacking in anything. But this time, he had no choice but to write a song. If he did not write a good song, then he would be done for. Thus, he was truly bursting with energy and immediately summoned all his strength, which was more than the sum of the strength he had used over the past few years. Only then did he manage to write such a brilliant song. When TZ finished singing, Lin Che immediately stood up in elation and started clapping. TZ only felt himself relax upon seeing that she was satisfied. After that, Lin Che even wanted to invite TZ to stay for dinner. How could TZ dare to eat with Gu Jingze? What a joke! He felt that he would suffer indigestion. He was already full looking at Gu Jingze's gaze. Thus, TZ quickly found an excuse and left first, tactfully leaving the restaurant to the two of them to enjoy their time alone. Lin Che genuinely felt very excited because the last song was at the standard that TZ only had in the past. She had not heard a new song that she liked so much for a very long time. What's more, this song had been specially given to her. When he saw that Lin Che was so happy, Gu Jingze asked disdainfully, "Isn't he just someone who sings?" Lin Che asked, "Don't you think the last song which he gave to us was a very good song?" So, Gu Jingze said. Lin Che looked at him and sighed. "Do you really dislike listening to pop songs?" "I will still listen to some of the classics," he said. "Ah, in that case, his songs are classics in C Nation. I'm talking about songs like All My Loving," she said, tack. Lin Che pondered for a bit and felt that Gu Jingze was definitely acting petty again. She pulled Gu Jingze to his feet, thinking of going out for a walk since they had finished eating. "Come on, I'll take you a fun place," she tugged at Gu Jingze and spoke. Gu Jingze had serious doubts about where she was taking him. He was sure that it would not be a good place. "I don't want to go." "You have to go even if you don't want to. Come on, I'll take you there." Lin Che laughed playfully. Her expression looked extremely mischievous. She dragged him along until they were outside. When they got into the car, she immediately said, "There's a legendary KTV if we go over there. Do you know about it?" Gu Jingze turned his face towards her. "Lin Che, what are you doing?" Lin Che smiled. "Let's give it a try." "Are you talking about the kind of place where you hold a microphone and sing as if you're a celebrity?" "I'm not going." Gu Jingze just knew it. The expression on her face was so sly. The place they were going to would definitely not be a good place. But he did not think that she would take him directly to the KTV. Such a lowly place. He did not want to go. Lin Che smiled deviously. "I just want to let you experience it. Gu Jingze, you've never taken me there before. Let's go home. I'll get them to install one. Having one at home is no fun. That place is very dirty and very chaotic. That's the atmosphere I want. You'll know once you go in with me and give it a try. Actually, it's very fun. It doesn't matter how horrible your singing is." Gu Jingze rolled his eyes at her. "Seems like it's a place that's suitable for you. You can go on your own." Lin Che looked at him with a delicate expression. "So you're asking me to go by myself? All right, I'm going on my own, then. Humph, there will be so many people walking to and fro. If they bump into me." Gu Jingze glared at her. Lin Che had already grabbed Gu Jingze by the hand. Come on. We're just going in to give it a try. Don't be afraid. I won't force you to sing even if your singing is horrible." Lin Che made the driver stop the car and drag Gu Jingze out. The KTV was not considered crowded right now. Gu Jingze's subordinates went to book a private room first. The two of them went inside directly. Gu Jingze looked at the interior with a look of complete disdain on his face. When he thought of the fact that many people had sat inside here before and furthermore, that the place was not sanitized before the next batch of guests entered, he felt that it was seriously dirty. Lin Che asked, "What are you doing?" Gu Jingze suggested, "Why don't we go to the club?" "I know that. I don't want to. Let's give it a go. We can play as we wish here without having to care about anything. This is what having fun is about. It's not like the club at all. It just looks like such a dazzling sight. I don't dare to touch anything there." Chapter 1037. She was so infatuated with her husband. Gu Jingze looked at her in disbelief. She said, "That's enough. Being exposed to more bacteria is good for strengthening immunity." While speaking, Lin Che sat in front of the song-on-demand system. Just then, Gu Jingze's subordinates came in to serve them some juice and fruit platters. His subordinates were standing guard outside. Although they had ordered food, they did not allow the waiters to send the food in. They were responsible for serving all the food. The waiters outside looked inside from time to time out of curiosity. They wondered if some prominent figure had appeared. Why were there so many bodyguards standing guard outside and stopping them from going in? However, all they could see was a bit of his face. They could not see anything else. They could only see a man and a woman sitting inside. Both of them looked as if they were slender and tall. They also looked very beautiful, but no one could clearly see who exactly they were. Lin Che had already chosen an old song. She picked the microphone up first and looked at Gu Jingze solemnly. She cleared her throat. "I have to tell you that a top celebrity like me does not easily show off her voice. Do you know how much they usually pay me to perform?" Gu Jingze looked at her in disbelief. Lin Che said, "Today, you have the good fortune of hearing something beautiful. I will now perform a classic song for you. TZ's, Love You Till the End. Listen up tilde." The song began in no time. The moment Lin Che saw this, she immediately started singing. "I'll love you till the end. I'll never leave you for the rest of my life." The song harbored warm emotions and was incredibly catchy as well, however. Lin Che's voice seriously made Gu Jingze frown instinctively. She was way too off-pitch. It made a perfectly good song literally sound like a saw. Of course, Lin Che also knew that she did not sing well. But who went to the KTV feeling that they had to sing well? This was precisely a place to sing and vent. Thus, she did not care whether or not she sounded good and simply started singing. Meanwhile, outside. Although the waiters always managed to hear voices like these, they had been looking inside curiously from the start. They did not expect to hear such a horrible song all of a sudden. They immediately felt like laughing. But before they could even laugh out loud, they saw the cold and threatening expressions of the bodyguards beside them and quickly suppressed their laughter again. Forget it. They had money. Being terrible at singing was not a problem. Everyone frantically retreated again. They did not continue discussing the terrible singing inside. Gu Jingze was listening inside. He, too, covered his ears and looked at Lin Che with a disbelieving expression. But Lin Che was having an extremely good time singing. She shouted and her voice kept cracking. At the end of the song, her cheeks were red. She panted while tidying her appearance. Then, she looked at Gu Jingze and said, come on. Give it a try too." Gu Jingze refused. "I don't want to." "Don't be so uptight. Quick, come here." "I said that I don't want to." "You can't say no. You must come." Lin Che grabbed his arm, looked at him, and asked, "Is it because your singing is terrible and you don't want me to hear it?" Gu Jingze raised his eyebrows. "Think as you wish." Hee. Your singing must be extremely horrible. It's all right. Don't worry. I won't look down on you." With a voice like that, she had the gall to say that she would not look down on others. Gu Jingze tapped her on the forehead. "Your skin is really becoming thicker and thicker." "I learned from you," Lin Che said. He scoffed. "I don't think so. You seem to have been this way from a long time ago." Don't you think it's a little too late to say it now if you knew this from the start?" Lin Che shook his arm, wanting him to sing. "Quick, sing, Gu Jingze." When he thought about it, she had indeed been thick-skinned from the moment they had met. However, taking into consideration their identities back then, he had felt that they were merely working together, so it was fine. She simply behaved in that way, acting shamelessly towards him for no reason. Thinking about it now, he did not know where she had gotten the guts back then to act shamelessly towards Gu Jingze. However, if she had not actually had such courage, they may not have fallen in love so quickly either. He would not have felt more and more strongly that she was so special, so unique, and so profoundly moving. Lin Che said flirtatiously, "I haven't heard you sing, hubby." She had truly defeated Gu Jingze. He looked helplessly at this woman who was about to be the mother of 2 children but who nevertheless behaved so childishly like a primary school student. Gu Jingze let out a short sigh. Seeing that he had relented, Lin Che immediately pushed the microphone into his hands. What song do you want to sing? I'll select it for you. Yesterday. It was a classic English song by the Beatles. Lin Che had heard it before. She found the song in no time. The music started playing. Lin Che leaned against the side and looked at Gu Jingze with her hands clasped together. Gu Jingze looked in front. Yesterday, all my troubles seemed so far away. The instant he let out his voice, it was like a piece of thread that directly caught onto her heart. His voice was deep and low, to begin with. The original song was quite high, but his deep and low voice sounded like the resonance of a cello. There was a bit of vibrato and melancholy to it, but he did not seem unpleasant. He seemed to others like a gentleman who had been through the times and was quietly recounting his past. All the events of yesterday were already long gone. A voice like this truly sounded so pleasant that everyone's hearts seemed to tremble with it. No wonder people said that good music was better at eliciting emotional responses, and that good voices could also give people ear orgasms. Listening more to this voice could seriously give people ear orgasms. Lin Che even forgot to blink her eyes as she looked in Gu Jingze's direction. He was seated there with his body leaning forward slightly. With the microphone in hand, he looked at the lyrics in front of him in concentration. His eyes had a bit of a hazy feel to it. They appeared to have greater depth in the slightly dusky room. Like the stars far away in the sky, they emitted light in the dark night. Lin Che gazed deeply at him. She was truly smitten. Was it a kind of illness to be bewitched by one's own husband? But that was precisely what was happening to her. She would blank out randomly while looking at him. She felt that he was simply a painting, a perfect comic book character. Just by standing in front of people, he did not have to say a word to make people feel very blessed. As long as she was with him, she would not feel bored at all, even if they were not doing anything. She already felt an immense sense of contentment, just looking at him quietly. Furthermore, even his voice also made her feel infatuated now. His singing sounded way too good. Lin Che thought to herself in disbelief, why were some people just so smart, so good-looking, and so rich? Why did they just have such good figures and now, they were even so good at singing? This was way too unfair. At this moment, the people outside had been defeated by the sawing sounds they had heard earlier. When they suddenly heard this English song, they were a little surprised. Someone even asked if this was the original track. Someone else said, of course, this was not the original track. All of them had heard the original song. That voice was very thin. This was obviously much more low and deep. Chapter 1038. Meeting a friend over the phone. When other people who were here to sing passed by and heard this voice, all of them could not help but look inside curiously. They wondered who sang so well and was even singing an English song at that. Indeed, Lin Che had also noticed that he sounded excellent at singing English songs. This song was initially sung with British English pronunciation. Furthermore, Gu Jingze's British English pronunciation was particularly authentic, so the charm of the song was brought out very well. Lin Che watched him for a long time. She looked on as he finished singing and put down his microphone. He turned his head around and saw that Lin Che was still looking at him. She looked smitten and her chin was resting on her hand. She really looked as if she was about to drool. Gu Jingze smiled with his lips pursed. He moved closer to her and pinched her lips lightly. Why, did I take your breath away? Lin Che's face turned red. Of course not. Gu Jingze loved her coquettish manner. Her feminine disposition appeared particularly charming right now. Perhaps it was because she was pregnant. She was so gentle that he felt as if his heart was floating. In particular, he liked the way she was so love-struck, and even more so when it was because of him. She seemed even more adorable. He reached out to caress her face as he looked at the charming expression on her face. Lin Che then reached out to hold his hand. With her other hand, she reached out to touch his face. His face was exquisite and smooth. There was some newly grown stubble at the bottom, but it was clean and neat and felt very pleasing to the touch. As her hand touched the rough surface, there was an intense feeling that she was touching the opposite sex. Every part of this man's body seemed perfect, whether it was his muscles, or his collarbones, the length of his fingers, or the slight stubble on his face. Everything was just right in showing off his masculine strength. At the same time, it did not at all make anyone feel that it was too much. He looked sensual and gentlemanly, without at all having the air of a muscular and burly man. He made people feel that his figure was simply very good. It was very comfortable to touch and to look at. They wondered if he had been sculpted according to God's model of perfection, or perhaps God had followed her own idea of the most desirable man in making him. The Gu Jingze that had been created was just right in striking the softest chord in her heart. It was genuinely fascinating. If she told others this, they would definitely say that love is blind. She liked him and that's why every part of him was good. Perhaps they were right, but she felt that judging from the fact that she was still not sick of looking at him after such a long time, it seemed that she really liked him. Under her ministrations, Gu Jingze felt her warmth and closed his eyes in slight pleasure. As she gently caressed him, he found it even more difficult to resist the urge in his heart. Because he was worried that he would not be able to control himself, he had not dared to be intimate with her all this while. Now that she was right in front of him and teasing him, he seemed unable to resist it. He caressed her cheek and softly captured her lips in a kiss. He did not dare to be too forceful, nor did he dare to get too immersed in it. He opened his eyes and gazed at her bright and clean face shining before him. He sighed and kissed only for a while more before releasing her from his hold. Once her body was in a better condition, he definitely would not let her off. Lin Che's lips were moist from being kissed. She wiped her mouth and looked down while smiling. She seemed like a young girl unfamiliar with the ways of the world. One kiss could even make her so happy. Gu Jingze had the microphone in his hand. Are you still going to sing? Lin Che quickly shook her head. No. It would be a wonder if she could still go on and sing after hearing Gu Jingze sing. It had been a spontaneous plan, to begin with anyway. She had wanted to bring Gu Jingze here to enjoy himself and experience it. Now that she had experienced that wonderful voice of his, which was absolutely great at singing as well, she was satisfied. She felt that Gu Jingze was simply a treasure that she could never finish unearthing. He gave her such surprises each and every time. This time, she had found out something again. It was simply that his voice could definitely intoxicate people when it was used for singing. The two of them left the KTV. The people in the KTV still found it very strange. This couple had come in a flurry and left after singing just 2 songs. But wealthy people knew exactly how to have fun. Coming to the KTV to sing 2 songs was nothing out of the ordinary. Lin Che and Gu Jingze had just left when Gu Jingze received a call from home, notifying him that old master had regained consciousness. Gu Shand had spent the past few days slowly recuperating. This time, he had finally gathered the strength to wake up. Lin Che also sighed feelingly. As expected, each person had his or her lot in life too. Old master could be considered someone with a strong will to live. Lin Che felt relieved at the fact that he had woken up. Although she did not like old master, it was not good for her to want someone to die for no reason, either. She and old master did not see eye to eye, but there was no deep enmity between them. Since Gu Jingze had heard the news, he had to return to the Gu residence to settle some matters. Thus, Lin Che headed home. When she reached home, she surfed Weibo lazily and realized that TZ had even followed her page. She quickly followed him back, as well. Thereafter, she discovered a new update on WeChat Moments. It was Qin Qing. Qin Qing had uploaded 2 photos of the venue of his birthday party. It seemed that it was his birthday. The photos were not clear, but she could see that many people were there. She did not comment even after seeing it. She had not heard the news of Qin Qing for a long time. Seeing that he seemed to be living pretty well, Lin Che felt quite relieved as well. She liked the posts. Since everyone had seen news of her return to the country on television, Qin Qing would probably not be shocked to see her appear all of a sudden. She would even post on her WeChat Moments from time to time. But now, she no longer dared to boast. When she was bored, she would post only some photos of her food, what she was using, the scenery, and some information about the movie. If she boasted in too obvious a manner and people found out that she was staying in the GU residence, the situation then would not be desirable either. But she did not expect Qin Qing to immediately send her a message when he saw her like his post. Lin Che, are you there? Lin Che said, yes. Happy birthday. Thanks. Thereafter, Qin Qing said again, I saw that you attained the top title. Congratulations. Thanks. Qin Qing said, come join us if you have time. Our classmates all miss you very much. Lin Che said, we'll see. She thought of how her heart used to pound all the time when she saw Qin Qing's messages. But now, it was all part of his agenda. Lin Che did not ask if he was doing well now, but he was probably not doing badly anyway. After exchanging pleasantries with Qin Qing, Lin Che put down her cell phone. Over on Gu Jingze's end. Gu Shand had indeed woken up. Gu Jingze had yet to arrive after he regained consciousness. Their clansmen had already arrived in advance. It appeared that Gu Shand had only a few days left to live. It seemed that he had reached his limit after being resuscitated this time. If something subsequently happened again, he would not necessarily be able to survive it. Thus, the clan relatives were all the more anxious. They wanted the matter of Gu Jingze's wife to be decided quickly. The clan relatives looked at Gu Shand and wiped away their tears, saying, if old master really passed away, we wouldn't want to live either. It's fortunate that old master is destined to have great luck and a long life. Since you escaped from this calamity, you are definitely bound for good fortune in the future. Old master is the most important pillar of our family. Now that you're back, we have hope again. Gu Shand sighed and looked at them. His words were still a little unclear. He could only say hoarsely, that's enough. All of you, stop crying. Yes, yes, yes. This is a happy occasion. We shouldn't be crying. The clan relatives stood up, turned around, and shouted, hey, Mengqi, come quickly. Kowtow to old master and pour him tea. Chapter 1039, Who's the female lead? At the back of the crowd, Shui Mengqi smiled and walked towards him. She was already holding a cup of ginseng soup in her hands. The ginseng soup was in a small and white porcelain goblet and a bit of steam was rising from it. She looked extremely delightful. The clan relatives immediately started praising her. Good gracious, look. Mengqi has already thought of it. We don't even need reminders from the servants. Hasn't everything been prepared? Come here. Gu Shand looked at Shui Mengqi with his eyes narrowed. Shui Mengqi said, Grandfather, I haven't been back for a long time. I managed to get here in time while your health is poor. I'll accompany you more when you're better in the future. Gu Shand glanced at her and said to the people beside him, this is Mengqi. Yes, yes, she's the Mengqi we often mention to you. The clan relatives said excitedly. Of course, Gu Shand knew what they meant by this. They had mentioned this Shui Mengqi not just once or twice. The fact that they had repeatedly mentioned her meant that the clansmen had already collectively nominated this Shui Mengqi to be their mistress. However, they needed the support of Gu Shand, a prominent elder of the family. Gu Shand knew that Lin Che was indeed not cut out to be the mistress. He did not want her to be the mistress either. As for the Shui Mengqi in front of him, he still had to observe her. He could not approve or disapprove of her so soon either. By the time Gu Jingze arrived, everyone had quietened down as well. As Gu Shand had escaped the jaws of death again this time, the atmosphere in the Gu residence finally became much more relaxed over the next few days. Gu Jingze wanted to return home early every day. Because Lin Che was pregnant, he wanted to stay by Lin Che's side a little more often. However, there were times when going on business trips was unavoidable. He had to go out and settle matters, but he did not want to go as it was too far. How could Lin Che agree to it? She definitely did not want to become a burden to him. She said, if you don't want to go, I can go with you too. But Gu Jingze was not agreeable. It's too far. You'll have such a hard time taking the plane. It won't do if something happens while you're there. Lin Che said, in that case, go on your own first. I won't go out and loiter about for the next few days too. I can make use of the time to discuss with the company our plans to film a short comedy. We've already chosen the novel and all the other components are going to be set in motion. I'm very busy too. Even if you're at home, you won't be able to accompany me much. There was nothing Gu Jingze could do but kiss her forehead. Alright then, bring a few more people with you when you go out. I'm fine. I know, but I worry. Even though he knew that nothing would happen to her since there were people with her to help her out if there was any danger, no matter how well prepared they were, he was still worried. What could he do? Lin Che's heart softened at his words. She pressed a short kiss to his lips. They had not behaved so intimately in front of the maids for a long time. For a moment, she felt a little embarrassed. Although the maids had gotten used to it a long time ago, she herself still blushed. Gu Jingze smiled. He patted her on the head before leaving. Lin Che was just about to head to the company when she received a call from Mu Firen beforehand. Lin Che, you're not busy, right? No, what's up, Firen? Lin Che asked while walking. I read that novel you chose. I think it's very interesting. I've decided to take the role. Ah, really? Hearing this, Lin Che quickly asked, but you're sure that you want to, right? You're not agreeing to film it out of consideration for my feelings, right? How silly. Of course. It's a fact that I haven't tried out such a role, so I want to give it a try. Lin Che was still a little hesitant after thinking about it. But even though I think that it will be very fun if all of us do something we like together, it really doesn't seem consistent with your image in the past. People won't say that I ruined you, right? Silly girl. Since you've already said that we want to film something we ourselves like, why should we care what others say? Anyway, I quite like it. Let me know once you've made your decision. Sure, I'm going to the company today to discuss this. We've already confirmed that we want to do it. If you're sure as well, we can go there and talk about it. Mu Firen agreed. The two of them promised to meet at the company. Shen Yoren had already reached the company long ago. Everyone was busy. Those in charge of getting sponsors good sponsors while those in charge of public relations were dealing with public relations. Lin Che went to greet Shen Yoren and told her that the female lead was coming later. Shen Yoren asked, you have already decided on the female lead. Who is it? Someone from Lin Che studio. Of course. One does not allow benefits created by one's own work to accrue to others, she smiled and said. Oh, then who is it? Well, take a guess. How would I know? You'll know once she's here, Lin Che said, keeping her in suspense. After the two of them sat down, Shen Yoren said, I've already gotten 2 screenwriters to come and take a look. One of them gave it a shot. But numerous screenwriters came knocking on our door when they heard that we were going to film something. It's probably because they know that you're famous and the chance of you cheating them is small. But none of them are well-known screenwriters. The big-name screenwriters still think that newbies like us aren't reliable, so the end product will probably be terrible. That's why they don't want to take on the job. We've already contacted a few big-name screenwriters, but it's useless no matter how many conditions we discuss with them. They've been rejecting us in a roundabout way. Lin Che said, I understand their concerns too. If that's the case, we won't force them to agree. There's no need for the screenwriter to be a famous one either. As long as we meet one who sees eye to eye with us and thinks in a similar way, we'll hire him or her. Alright, since you've said so, I'll choose someone among them first. Just then, someone entered. You guys are already here. I'm the one who's late. The person who had come in was Mu Firen. Shen Yoren froze. When she saw Mu Firen push the door open and walk in naturally, she was momentarily stunned. Hey, why? Lin Che stood up and said, Firen, you're here. Come, take a seat. We were just talking about getting a screenwriter when you came. Shen Yoren had yet to register what was happening. You guys are. Lin Che said, this is the female lead. Wow, no way. The female lead is Mu Firen. Good lord, I should go and inform those top screenwriters. If they hear that Mu Firen is going to act in it, they will definitely clamor for the job. Mu Firen smiled and said, forget it. These screenwriters won't want to come. I haven't acted for so many years. I'm completely different now. How are you different? You're still a huge celebrity at the level of a queen. Shen Yoren was still very shocked. She found it very hard to believe that Mu Firen was going to act in their first production. When the time came, they would probably receive a lot of attention. Lin Che said, that's why I said that it's someone from my company. Firen is signed under our company right now. What the hell, you're just teasing me now. You didn't even say so earlier, Shen Yoren said. I nearly died from shock. Lin Che laughed out loud. Alright, now you know it too. As for the male lead, I don't know who's the best choice. Chapter 1040. Socializing was unavoidable. Lin Che looked at Mu Firen. Do you have a male celebrity you want to work with? I don't. Mu Firen continued. Those who are still active in the industry now are probably not the ones that were around with me back then. Thus, I'm really not sure who can still film right now. Lin Che thought about it and had no idea either. That's why she told someone to get her the book of actors to choose from. Inside it was a name list of all the actors who were active or inactive now, famous or not famous, rookies and veterans, their photos, their representative works, and their details. Everyone chose for a long time and felt slightly dazed. In the end, they decided to filter out people in stages first. They took out the people whose images did not fit the role. As the male lead was a chauvinist with an aura of coldness and righteousness, they had to get a man who looked gallant to play the role. He could not look feminine. The female lead was devilishly clever. The combination of the two would play off each other. The actor they chose also needed to be someone whose image could match Mu Firen's. Because of that, it was even more difficult to find an actor. Although Mu Firen did not look very domineering, she was a figure at the level of an empress. Thus, there really weren't many people who could overpower her. After perusing for a long time, they felt that there were a few suitable candidates, but in the end, they were not necessarily going to be chosen. Lin Che said, in that case, we'll leave it be first. Let's send out a notice to see if anyone gives us recommendations or recommends themselves. Anyway, there's no rush. We can take our time choosing. The three of them walked out leisurely. Shen Yoren had to go home to look after her children and Lin Che had to go home too. Mu Firen had to attend an event. The company had arranged for her to film an advertisement. The advertising company brought her to meet the producer for a discussion on the timing of the advertisement. Naturally, many people were vying for Mu Firen's first advertisement after her comeback. Ultimately, it was the employees who had a collective discussion on which advertisement was most befitting of her identity and status and which could bring about positive effects on her image. In the end, they had chosen this cell phone, which was about to go on the market. In reality, filming a cell phone advertisement was not that difficult. In the past, Mu Firen would not have attended such a gathering to discuss how filming should proceed. But Mu Firen had not officially made her comeback, so she was planning to assess the situation and get used to such social intercourse. She could take the chance to find out if there were any new directions and new rules in filming an advertisement so she can keep up with the trend. When they arrived, they realized that they were at a nightclub. The manager whom Lin Che had allocated to her was a rookie. Although rookies did not have much experience, ultimately Mu Firen had a lot of experience. Furthermore, rookies would not criticize Mu Firen or order her around. They would very obediently let Mu Firen do whatever she wanted to. Thus, after discussing with Mu Firen, they decided to allocate this new manager to Mu Firen. The manager, Little Fang, looked at Mu Firen. Sister Firen, should we go in? Why are we here at a nightclub? Mu Firen said, that's quite normal too. These bosses do like coming here to discuss matters. But I think Sister Che never came to such places before. Mu Firen smiled and said, Lin Che rarely socializes. Who would dare ask her to come here? Because she was under Gu Jingze's protection, Lin Che had indeed avoided many such social gatherings. But Mu Firen had attended many of them in the past, so she did not think much of this one either. She comforted Little Fang before bringing him in. Fortunately, the moment the advertising staff saw Mu Firen, he immediately approached her politely. Miss Mu, it's been a really long time. Nice to meet you. Miss Mu, I haven't seen you for a few years. You're still so young and beautiful. You haven't changed at all. Of course not. Thank you for your praise. I'm so embarrassed. They were the same social niceties. Mu Firen was very familiar with such things. The other party still treated Mu Firen very well. As Mu Firen's first advertisement after her comeback was going to be theirs, they understood how important it was. Naturally, they were impossibly polite towards Mu Firen and definitely would not be too touchy with her. As she had expected, this was a typical business gathering. Everything was normal. Upon seeing the current situation, Her manager Little Fang also felt relieved. Outside, many waiters had already seen Mu Firen come in. Those who went into the private room to deliver things from time to time also saw Mu Firen. As Mu Firen rarely appeared, everyone was discussing animatedly. They said that Mu Firen had arrived and that it looked like she was here to discuss work matters. They also wondered if she was really going to make a comeback. Some of the gossip circulating outside tended to come about by being leaked out bit by bit. However, just then, someone suddenly pushed open the door to the private room and barged in a drunken state. Everyone froze. They saw a thin, weak, and pale youth, who seemed to have poor lifestyle habits, walk inside. "Hey, is Mu Firen here?" Everyone immediately stood up. They looked at the person who had come in. They were still dumbstruck when a drunken and perverted smile appeared immediately on his face upon seeing Mu Firen. "It really is Mu Firen. Hey, look who I met here." Seeing as he was drunk, Mu Firen did not want to get involved with him either. However, just then, the people in the room suddenly recognized him. This person was one of the young masters of the local military region. His family dealt in firearms, so he was usually very arrogant. He often went around this nightclub having fun. Everyone here knew who he was. Thus, everyone also knew not to stop him because he had soldiers from the special forces with him outside. They were definitely not to be trifled with. He walked towards Mu Firen. Little Fang was in great shock. He kept shouting, "What do I do? What do I do? What's happening?" Mu Firen looked at him. "This gentleman, you're probably drunk. Should I get someone to send you back?" He looked at Mu Firen, smiled, and threw himself directly on her. "Mu Firen, hey, come here, let me take a look at you in real life. I used to see you all the time on television. It's my first time seeing you in the flesh today. Let me touch you and see if you look better in real life compared to on television." At the blatant verbal harassment, Mu Firen quickly evaded the man. "Be more respectful, all right." The man immediately threw himself on her again. The people here with her could not just stand by idly. They frantically tried to stop him. Young Master Chen, don't be like this. You're drunk. If you're looking for a woman, there are actually many beauties here." The guy surnamed Chen instantly turned furious at being stopped. He immediately pushed the people in front of him away in a rage. Drunken men were quite strong too. They used a surprising amount of force, mainly because they did not care. The person who had stopped him was pushed directly to the ground and flipped over. He started laughing loudly and asked, "How dare you stop me? Why don't you look at how many people I have behind me?" Everyone could see the people in green uniforms trailing behind him. They retreated for the time being and did not dare to fight fire with fire. After all of those people were indiscriminate. If they took out a gun,